Bitcoin and the markets are getting a nice little pop today. Bitcoin on the back of the Grayscale win against the SEC and moving one step closer to Grayscale becoming a spot or converting to an ETF and the approvals of spot ETFs. On the other side of the coin, the markets are pumping a little bit today with a decline in available jobs. So bad news becomes good news because that gives the Fed more reason to pause with job openings dropping. So we have a lot of economic data coming out this week that will help in terms of guiding a Fed decision at the next meeting in September, which the expectation from some Fed members is a rate hike, with other Fed members no hike. So, if inflation comes in softer than expected, we're continuing to see disinflation. If the labor jobs numbers are down, and looking good, soft job reports and all that on the back of this, job openings dropping, meaning less available jobs for people looking for work, less competitive environment for employees, less potentially that employers will have to pay. That's all good news for the Fed and gives them reason to pause. But the message was clear from Jackson Hole that it's higher for longer. The Fed has no intention of dropping rates anytime soon. They're going to let the markets go until something breaks, like a credit event. I put a tweet out earlier. Let's jump in and explain what a credit event is. A lot of people are talking about credit events out in the market right there. So let's go to the profile here and take a look at what I put out. You hear a lot of talk about the next black swan, something like that. Credit event could be the next black swan. So I did a little tweet talking about what a credit event is and how it triggers a snowball effect and can really affect the economy in a negative way. So go check that out. You can find me on Twitter. Watch out for scams. I have the blue check mark. I'm the only Greg Dickerson, the way that's spelled. So watch out. There's a lot of fake accounts out there on all social media. And as AI gets more robust, it's going to continue to be more of a problem. You would think that they would be able to take care of these things on, X now, that used to be Twitter and all the other platforms. But anyways, let's jump into the news here. The stocks rise today. Everything up, almost 2% on the NASDAQ, 1.38 on the S&P, 0.69 on the Dow. Again, off of the news that available jobs are declining, job openings are declining. And then the big news of the day is that the court sides with Grayscale over the SEC in the spot Bitcoin ETF lawsuit. So that was a big one. So let's take a look at the effects. So Bitcoin is up it was up about 10%, I think, total on the day before it retracted a little bit. So initial pop, up about 8.48%, almost 9%. It popped back down and will probably continue back into this consolidation range because this triggered probably a lot of shorts. So a lot of shorts had to cover. A lot of people were expecting more downside from here. Without the Grayscale news, potentially you would see the next leg down to this next fib level, 0.5. It was finding support on the 382. Next level will be the 0.5. Major trend line still intact right now. You want to see it Bitcoin break the trend line and continue up for this to become a lower high right here, just slightly above this high over here. But most likely, without any kind of more positive ETF news, getting closer to ETFs, price will come back down, most likely continue to consolidate, maybe go down and check some of these lower levels because there's just no liquidity in the market. There's not a lot of interest in the market. But ETF approvals are moving and inching closer to ETFs, could bring a lot of capital in the market. A lot of people will be jumping in. Then you'll see a big, serious pop on Bitcoin. The other thing to look at is the weekly average. Let's see weekly moving averages. Let's take a look at Bitcoin on the weekly, get a clean chart here with just the trend to see if this brought us back above the 200. So just rejecting right in that 200 weekly moving average area. That's the major line of support for Bitcoin. Have been below it. Most of the bear market came above it here, found support, back below it again. So what you want to see is you want to see Bitcoin get above that 200 weekly moving average and maintain support there like it's done most of the time. Again, it was below all daily moving averages, pop back up above the 200. So that's good news for Bitcoin if it can maintain this price action, but again, without any follow-up on ETF guidance from SEC. Even though they won the lawsuit, now they still have to go through the process of the SEC approving them. So that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean the SEC is going to approve them just because Grayscale won, but it means that now they can proceed towards conversion. So the SEC's probably going to try to do, what they can in terms of, delay and compliance and this and that and the other, like they've done with other ETFs. But eventually, inevitably, these ETFs are going to get approved, and Bitcoin will most likely be off to the races, testing the previous all-time highs, potentially setting new all-time highs once these ETFs get approved. I mean, it just stands to reason. It's going to open up the floodgates to so much capital coming into the space with the average 401k, IRAs, pension funds, life companies, all the different companies that will now be able to invest in a spot ETF. And those spot ETFs have to buy Bitcoin with no liquidity. That will create a buying frenzy. So that should push price significantly and quickly. So that's something you definitely want to get prepared for. If you need to move money around, get money put onto wherever you're going to buy those ETFs and be ready for those acquisitions. That could break. You just never know whether or not this could come through this year, or if it's going to get pushed into next year. And of course, if the SEC delays and pushes it off, price will drop back down, consolidate, people will lose interest. And then if they approve it, it will jump back up again. The entire crypto space, kind of on the back of Bitcoin, following through like it always does. Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP getting a small bounce, but pretty much all of the entire crypto space pumping up with the news. And then Coinbase had a nice little pop here. Coinbase was up on the news, 16% overall. Nice little pop. GBTC Grayscale was up at one point on the day about 19%. So nice little pops for Coinbase and the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, with light at the end of the tunnel with this conversion. Let's take a look now at a couple of things here. We'll see the VIX kind of hanging out, retracting from this little spike attempt here. The Dixie kind of rejecting, finding support on the trend right now. We'll see if that holds out. The 2-year pulling back, 10-year pulling back, because capital is rolling back into equities, risk on for the time being. Question is, will this be a double top and continue down to retrace the trend here on the 10-year and the 2-year, or will it kind of continue higher? So, with the Fed higher for longer, with the stress on companies and credit markets, that could be the narrative. So here's the Dow right here, wrestling with this 702, lost the 702, found support on it. NASDAQ, same thing, above the 702 now, rejecting on the 786, which is the last line of defense, and the S&P, same thing. Let's look at the Qs right here, same boat, rejecting right on the 786. So is this going to be continuation, or are we going to see a rollover again? We don't know yet. We'll just have to wait and see how things settle out with the economic data that's coming out the rest of this week, with inflation reports, job reports, and all of those types of things ahead of us. That's going to give an indication of what the Fed's going to do. In the meantime, the economy is still plugging along pretty good. Consumers are employed and spending, although some retrading is going on with the consumer. Some retailers are under pressure because consumers are under pressure. You have student loans potentially starting back up, but there's forbearance there. So there's a lot of things that can keep the economy humming along until it can't. That's why I put the tweet out about, or the X out about, whatever you call it now, about the credit event and the potential reverberations through the global economy, like we're seeing in China. So those are the things to watch. Of course, geopolitical stresses out there, and that can change things really quick. But right now, the momentum is there. The economy is doing well. Stronger. The Fed is losing its case for another rate hike, but we have a lot more economic data to come out, a lot of earnings and things to get through. So we're just going to continue to watch it. All eyes on Bitcoin and the ETF scene. I'll keep you posted on that. Until then, I will see you on the next video.